So my background is in mechanical engineering. I studied at the University of Cape Town and then went on to do my postgrad in engineering management and had the pleasure of finding TLP very soon after graduation. And I've now been with them for the past 3 years. Yeah, hopefully with many more still to come. So my main role is, as I said, learning designer for this particular project, and I'm also involved with consulting with universities around developing regions such as Sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia, and the Pacific Islands, as well as helping to establish and build more of a network in the global South. Marsha, I'd like to also just hand over to you quickly to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Kai. So my name is Marsha Morlach. I've got a background in architecture, urbanism, and building sciences, and more specifically, building physics and services from the Technische Universiteit Eindhoven in the Netherlands. I started working at UCT in 2006, where I'm involved with applied research such as the Transforming Energy Access Learning Partnership. Within the electrical engineering department, I'm involved with lecturing and supervision of undergraduate students, as well as supervising postgraduate students. I've been involved with the Transforming Energy Access Learning Partnership since 2018. The Transforming Energy Access Learning Partnership, or TLP, focuses on capacity building for postgraduate students and professionals working in the energy sector as a critical element to contribute to the long-term transformation of energy access. Thanks, Kai. Back to you.
Thank you, Marsha. So just to have a quick look at the agenda for the day, so we understand that most of you are full-time working professionals, so we're going to try to be as quick and efficient with this as possible. So we're going to first explain a little bit about the course, a little bit about the purpose, the structure, the layout, what you can expect, and who exactly this course is most suited for. We'll then hand over to each of the content experts who were involved in developing this course, and we'll then finish off with an opportunity for you to ask any questions that you might have to Marsha or myself, or to any of the content experts if you have any particular questions about their modules. So a little bit about the course and the background. So this course will basically bridge the gap between the circular economy thinking and the sustainable energy transition. Now, this has a particular focus on developing regions, as I said, such as Sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia, and the Pacific Islands. And it's about more than just theory in this course. It's not just going to be we give you the content and you learn it. It's about developing or helping you to develop the values, skills, tools, and confidence to help lead some real and tangible change within the sector and to contribute towards the clean energy transition as best you can. So by reimagining how we design, use, and sustain energy systems, the CSET course, so that's our abbreviation for Circular Economy and Sustainable Energy Transition, will help to transform today's challenges into tomorrow's opportunities. We would like to invite you to think differently, to act boldly, and to innovate in a field that asks exactly that of you. Now, in an era of climate urgency, the CSET CPD course provides the knowledge and tools to help you drive this innovation, resilience, and inclusive energy futures. And it's a course where you can learn how to shape and cultivate solutions that really do matter in the bigger picture, not just for today, but for many future generations to come. So just a little bit about the delivery layout and structure of the course. So this course is fully remote and asynchronous. So it has been designed with flexibility in mind to basically accommodate full-time working energy professionals who we understand have many other responsibilities in life, often family responsibilities, still wanting to pursue other interests and passions outside of the workplace. So every Monday morning, there's going to be a new module that is released, and this will be complete with lecture recordings and lessons, detailed notes, supplementary materials to basically support and enhance the theory that's being taught, as well as interactive quizzes. And these are basically there to help you stay on track and to reinforce your learning while also showing us that you have engaged with the content to a satisfactory extent. So not too important right now, but they'll basically be due the day before the next module begins, and they'll help to keep your learning journey structured and consistent, and also just to make sure that you don't rush ahead and finish the entire course within a week or two. Not that I think that's possible, but stranger things have happened. So before we hand over to the content experts, I'd just like to show you a quick overview, sort of bird's eye view as to what the course is going to look like with each of the modules. So we start off looking at environmental and social sustainability, so basically looking at sustainability through these two lenses. We'll then move on to learn about policy and regulations. So how can we develop more supporting policy for, things like the circular economy and the sustainable energy transition. We'll then look at circularity and the circular economy, so basically taking a deep dive into these critical aspects before moving on to learning how we can start designing energy systems that are durable, how we can recycle various aspects or components of the energy system, and how we can encourage reusability, which will all circle back to the circularity and circular economy aspect. We're then going to learn about renewable energy supply chains, specifically through the lens of solar energy, as this is currently the most widely used form of renewable energy in our regions that we are focusing on. And we're then going to have a look at various finance and business models that can be applied into this context of circularity and the circular economy. So at this point, you might be wondering, who is this course aimed for, or who's it aimed at? And it's essentially at professionals who are already working in the renewable or the energy sector, or those wanting to transition into the energy sector. So as a minimum requirement, we do require a recognized degree in a related field. So since this isn't a very technically oriented course, it doesn't necessarily have to be engineering. It can also be courses that aren't, as number heavy, such as environmental science, politics, social sciences, and then, of course, other fields such as finance, mathematics, physics are also very welcome. It's been specifically designed with the modern working professional in mind, who basically are trying to balance the demands of full-time working, family responsibility, and a desire to advance their career. Now, once you've graduated, you'll receive 8 CPD credits through the Engineering Council of South Africa, but we of course do understand that not everyone is based in South Africa taking this course, so we have made sure that these credits are transferable to the engineering regulatory body within your country as well. So I'd now like to hand over to our exceptional content experts who played a pivotal role in helping to develop this course. So to start off with, I'd like to hand over to Nancy Mwari Murithi of Kenya. Over to you, Nancy.
Please confirm that you can hear me, Kai. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nancy Mware Murethi. I am Kenyan, as you can see the flag, and I'm based in Nairobi. I'm an energy and sustainability professional with experience working at the intersection of policy, industry, and climate action. My background is in electrical and electronics engineering, and I hold a Master of Science in Energy Management from the University of Nairobi. I've also had advanced training in ESG, renewable energy, and green transition tools from Sweden and Denmark. Over the years, I have specialized in energy efficiency, in carbon management and sustainability strategy, and I have certifications like Certified Energy Manager and the Certified Carbon Auditing Professional. I became passionate about sustainability because I have seen firsthand how climate change and resource challenges are affecting communities in Kenya, whether it's families struggling with water shortages or industries facing rising energy costs. And for me, sustainability is not just a professional field. It's about finding solutions that improve people's lives while protecting the environment. Over the last decade, I have advised and supported industries in Kenya and in Seychelles on reducing their carbon footprint, improving their efficiency, adopting renewable energy solutions, and also integrating social aspects into their business strategies. I currently sit on national technical committees in Kenya, like the Kenya National Climate Change Action Plan, and I have contributed to the reviewing of key policies like the energy policy of 2018. Beyond policy work, I also have hands-on experience in terms of delivering energy audits, training, stakeholder workshops across East Africa, and I have collaborated with other organizations to develop sustainability modules and also build professional capacity. Along the way, I have been privileged or honored to receive recognitions like the Kathleen Gaffney Prize of 2025, the Energy Professional of the Year for Sub-Saharan Africa in 2024, and the Professional Energy Woman of the Year in 2021. And just as a fun fact, outside of work, I love hiking in Kenyan highlands and taking nature walks. It always reminds me that why sustainability matters, because the same forests and the rivers that make those landscapes beautiful are also the ecosystems that sustain our communities and industries. So with that mix of technical expertise, policy engagement, and capacity building, my goal really is to bridge the knowledge and knowledge and practice, so as to ensure that sustainability is not just a concept, but it's a set of practical tools that can help us in the global south to build more resilient, inclusive, and low carbon energy systems. Let's talk about the module, which is module 1, which I developed. That is the module on environmental and social sustainability. So this module that I have developed is the first in the series of the 6 modules that you will go through. And it's designed to help us as professionals to understand how energy systems can be developed in a way that protects the natural resources while also strengthening communities and improving lives. Sustainability in some instances is often thought purely in environmental terms, but in reality, sustainability is also environmental, social, and economic. But in this module, we'll look at the 2 dimensions, the environmental and the social dimensions. If we talk about the environmental side a bit, we know that we are facing the triple planetary crisis of climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution, and these are already disrupting energy systems. From the social side, we know that these crises directly translate into poverty, they translate to inequality, health risks, and displacement, which are issues that are especially acute in the global south. So for professionals like us who are joined on this call this afternoon, this is highly relevant, whether we work in energy, in policy, in business, in politics, in community development. We are often tasked with a difficult task of finding that balance between growth and sustainability. And that is where this module looks at these 2 dimensions together. It introduces you to practical tools like the carbon accounting, net zero planning, and circular economy principles, and also gives you the concrete practices in energy, water, materials, and waste management. At the same time, we'll also be emphasizing the social sustainability bit, which is about ensuring that the strategies we adopt don't just reduce emissions, but also create jobs, strengthen resilience, and promote equity. You probably would ask, so why is this particularly important for the energy landscape in developing regions or in the global south, if we focus on the global south? It's because the energy transitions are not just about technology, they are about people. So as we expand renewable energy, as we improve efficiency, as we manage resources more carefully, we also have that opportunity to create jobs, to reduce inequalities, and to provide cleaner, more reliable energy access for households and communities that have historically been left behind. So this module is about equipping us with those technical tools, but also the social perspectives that are needed to tackle the sustainability challenges. It will help us to show how to balance environmental protection with social equality, so that the energy transition in the global south is not only about low carbon, but it's also inclusive, it's fair, and it's resilient. Thank you, and I'm looking forward to engaging with you in this module. Back to you, Kai.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Nancy. I'd now like to hand over to Mr. Tumisang Ruda, who developed Module 2 on policy and regulation.
Thank you very much, Kai, and thank you very much, Nancy, for that introduction. You've covered a lot, and I'll try not to repeat most of the things that you've already said. So my name is Tumisang Ruda. I am an energy engineer by profession. I've spent the majority of my career working under the renewable energy section of the Department of Energy in Botswana. So the Department of Energy is the energy policy institution of Botswana. So I basically work on the design and delivery of clean energy regulation, and I've contributed on a number of national policy instruments such as the feed-in tariffs, biofuels guidelines, and quite recently I was part of a team that developed Botswana's energy compact for the Mission 300. One of the activities that I'm currently engaged in is the delivery of Botswana's green hydrogen technology framework and roadmap. I also serve on multiple national, multi-stakeholder, and interministerial committees that have anything to do with clean energy. So my focus is very simple, which is to make targets investable, to protect consumers, and to capture value through circular economy practices. So I really enjoy translating complex goals into more clear rules, credible processes, and market signals that developers, financiers, and communities can act on. So you will get to see that practical style in this module that I helped to develop. So my module is module 2, which is on policy and regulation. The module is basically about moving on from megawatts that are in paper or still thought to megawatts on the ground. Basically, with the materials and the money accounted for across the full life cycle. That is designing the policy and the regulations. So in developing countries, we have a challenge to deliver three things at once, which is affordable access to electricity, resilient security, resilience and security against shocks, any market and energy shocks, and real economic opportunity. So renewables tend to do all these three when policy, regulation, and governance are clear and credible. So this module basically dives into making the policy, regulation, and governance very clear to achieve a circular economy and to achieve sustainable energy transitions. So the module is designed and divided into 8 core units. Firstly is on unit 1 will be on the foundations, which basically addresses minor issues which can tend to be major, such as nomenclature or just the language that is used around energy policy and regulation. It also covers the key drivers, global drivers, and we discuss policy cycles specifically tuned to circular economy and in order to design for durability, repair, and second life, as well as end of life, of course. And then the second unit, which is my personal favorite and it's very extensive, is on policy instruments and market design. This one basically covers all of the toolkits that move markets, such as energy auctions, renewable portfolio standards, feed-in tariffs, fiscal levers, carbon pricing, and basically just how to align them with circular goals without any double counting. The third unit will move on to the regulatory frameworks and legal considerations, which turns plans into more enforceable rules. We'll discuss in it, we discuss the licensing, the environmental, social, and impacts and impact assessments and the life cycle of the scope. We look at grid codes, consumer protection. We discuss power purchase agreements and basically EPRs for PV and batteries from a policy perspective. Unit 4 is on institutions and governance. This is basically maps all of the actors to achieve the CSET environment, as in the who does what, the coordination across the ministries and markets, the capacity building, and basically how to create ownership that survives election cycles. Unit 5 is about the cross-cutting challenges and best practices. There are a number of challenges, and we tackle these challenges from permitting frictions, grid access, finance gaps, the skills, policy coherence issues, as well as inclusive engagement and equity issues, as well as just transition principles. These are very crucial to attaining the best practices for a circular economy and sustainable energy transitions. Unit 6 will delve into the monitoring, evaluation, and learning, shifting from compliance to performance. It'll train you how to build a monitoring and evaluation um, and learning toolkit, not only which tracks not only megawatts as is being done currently the conventional way, but also speaking about material flows, reliability, tracking curtailment, and circular outcomes. Unit 7 will touch on the policy issues surrounding economic and financial mechanisms. It'll show how the money moves and how some reforms and how we can apply reforms to some harmful subsidies, which are still very common in developing countries that support fossil fuels. We'll also discuss public finance and how to de-risk it and deploy instruments like guarantees, green bonds, concessional loans, etc., etc. The final unit, which is unit 8 of this module, basically looks ahead. It's on emerging trends and the future outlook. It looks ahead. It discusses AI-ready smart grids. It discusses microgrids, just transitions, digital product passports, product as a service, etc., etc. So this module, in conclusion, basically is the full chain from intent all the way to institutions with a circular perspective at every single step. Thank you so much for your attention. Back to you, Kai.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tomi-san. And yeah, something that really stood out for me about this module was the fact that you're not only learning about how to implement these policy and regulations, but the fact that Tomi-san also imagines how we could create the ideal policies and regulatory frameworks to support the circular economy and sustainable energy transition. So yeah, very valuable module within the course. Moving on then to module 3, which was delivered by Yameng Khoe. And yeah, that is the module on circularity and the circular economy. Over to you, Yame.
Hello, hi. Just to confirm, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Loud and clear. Thank you, everyone. Yes, I think you've been hearing.
Yame, we have lost you again. Yame, I see you are muted at the moment.
It keeps muting. I'm not sure why that is. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Yes, sorry about that, everyone. Yeah, this core module, along with the sustainability module that Nancy covered, these two together, they work in tandem really, because you'll find as we go through the modules that I constantly refer to all the other modules. So a lot of what would have been content for this one, you will get a lot of additional information, oversight, just as you've heard from Tumi-san. So you'll see a lot of reference to others when those ones will provide a lot of depth. But at the end of the day, this module is really looking at giving you an overview on exactly what circular economy is, what circularity principles are, and how these will apply in the context of your work, both as engineers and as renewable energy experts in the field. So really, at the end of the day, what I was trying to balance here is that there's this term going down a rabbit hole. You don't want to go too deep into the subject matter. You want to give somebody an overview, make it relevant to their field and their experience and what they want to do. But then lastly, you'll find that a lot of the supporting documents that you'll find, there's a rich array of information in each and every unit, which will actually give you an overview on what else, if you want to go further into the topic, where else can you find more information. So the module itself, looking at your context as renewable energy experts and engineers, I really had a feeling that there would be 5 key things that you had to look at. First and foremost is understanding what it is. What is circularity? What is circular economy? And most importantly, what it's not. So you find there's a lot of information. Looking at the urgency of the transition that Nancy very succinctly covered for us at the beginning, but then understanding what does that look like in the context of looking at circular economy and where this could lie in terms of application in your work. We go a bit deeper into the second module, which is now talking to how does this link to design. Design is actually the fundamental aspect of all this, because it's at the moment of inception when you're choosing to design that you have choices to make around materials, around looking at your end of life. You start with the end in mind, and then also looking at 2 things: systemic issues that are in your context, but also looking at the full value chain. From and your components have reached the end of life, so that you do no harm to the environment. And then this now anchors into the third unit, which is my personal favorite, which is the circular economy business and service models. This is now looking at how you put this into practice. These principles and these strategies are actually the anchor to delivery, because they obviously, as you know, you've got to make trade-offs. You've got to make choices of how you're going to deploy. You've got to incentivize the delivery, the deployment, the packaging of exactly what you're going to put out into the field and make it sustainable, so that you can actually be value adding to your end users, your consumers, your communities. There's a fourth unit, which is quite interesting, and it's a bit of a tangent away from the topic. And this is around issues around systems change and systems thinking. There's a very, very important aspect in terms of not only the current environment that we find ourselves in, but it also, I think, really the intent here is to really start to understand that you are looking at yourself not just in your individual context, but also now looking at, again, systemic issues, looking at the role you have to play when you're looking at everything around you. And when I talk systems here, I'm not talking about the renewable energy systems. I'm talking about how you interrelate with industries around you, maybe parallel to your own, looking at, as Tumi-san rightly pointed out, policy and regulatory. What are you doing in your communities? What else are you doing in terms of the materials, the global perspective, the local, the national, the regional, everything else that comes together holistically? Where's that interlink of the relationships? So the topic really delves into allowing you to actually appreciate what exactly are the issues at play, what are the tools that you can actually you can gain and you can understand what systems changes, when we talk about systemic issues, what does that look like? Looking at systems innovation and systems thinking, what does this mean? But also more importantly, what does this mean in relation to circular economy? Because the two are married, actually. They're 2 sides of the same coin. And then this brings you to the last module, which is, I think everybody understands, what doesn't get measured doesn't get done. So I really felt this was a key issue to finish off the module on, which is understanding frameworks, understanding standards, but also understanding the cross-cutting issues at play. I think Tumi-san touched on issues around digital passports, digital technologies, and so on and so forth, but also what else is at play here, so that you can understand what will strengthen the verification, strengthen your ability to show evidence that you as a business owner, you as a project owner, you are actually delivering the transformation or the change that you say you are doing. So holistically, these 5 modules come together to actually give you a full overview. But I think the strength of this whole unit actually lies in its anchoring with all the other topics that you will cover in the various other modules, and also more importantly, looking at how it marries with the topics that it keeps touching on as it goes, and the supporting documents. You may be wondering, why me? Who am I and what I do? When I'm not busy here, well, supporting and helping to provide this content, I am part of not only Pan-African but global networks in circular economy, like the African Circular Economy Network, the African Circular, which basically we look at things like, right now we're negotiating with the government of Botswana to develop its National Circular Economy Action Plan. I've recently contributed to, as part of 30 or 40 experts across Africa, for the African Union Commission Circular Economy Implementation Plan. So collectively, we provided the baseline and the information that informs the 2024 to 2034 Circular Economy Action Plan for Africa. We've just completed the situation analysis for the Switch to Circular Economy facility. This is the EU facility that will provide funding for the COMESA region. These are the 13, 14 countries of East and Southern Africa. I was the expert responsible for Botswana and Namibia, so along with this 6 to 8 other experts who covered the other countries. And basically, this is like Nancy said, this is what we do. So it's not just abstract. We live this, and I really hope that you gain the insights, and as Kai said, the critical thinking to then take this forward and then make it applicable in your everyday work. And I hope it will be of value to you. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you, Lame, for the elaborate explanation there. We unfortunately couldn't be joined by Ms. Kinyaki Mati today, so we do have a recording from her just to briefly explain who she is, what she does, and why her module on durability, recycling, and reusability is important in this context. So I'm just going to head over to that slide now.
Kai, could you please check your sound? I can't hear Kenya's presentation.
Sorry, Marsha, you say you were unable to hear it?
That's correct.
Okay, I can hear it loud and clear from my side.
Same with me, Kai. I can hear it. I can't.
You can.
I cannot.
You can't. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, apologies about that. I will come back to this right at the end, and then yeah, we'll see if we can get it to work then. I just don't want to waste too much time going through it now. So yeah, on that note, I'm going to hand over to Femi, who's going to tell you a little bit about the module on renewable energy supply chains.
Right, Kai. Thank you very much. Hello everyone. My name is Adeni Femi, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be the content expert for Module 5, which is Renewable Energy Supply Chains and Sustainable Resource Management. Basically, I bring over a decade of specialized experience in renewable energy systems, sustainability technologies, and supply chain optimization. As a versatile professional with multiple degrees, like a master's in business administration, master's in data science, and master's in renewable energy system, I have dedicated my career to advancing sustainable energy solutions across diverse sectors and geographies. My professional journey spans from designing West Africa's first solar-powered offshore buoy system to managing multiple or multi-megawatt commercial and industrial solar installation. Throughout my career, I have witnessed firsthand the critical importance of sustainable supply chains in renewable energy deployment, like implementing solar energy solutions across several countries, Africa and abroad, right? I understand the complex interplay between resource availability, supply chain efficiency, and sustainable deployment outcomes. So basically, I plan to leverage my vast experience on the field and in the sector to unlock the secrets to building supply chains that don't just survive disruption, they thrive because of it. You will learn practical frameworks I have developed through real world experience, tools that have helped me and my team to consistently exceed KPIs for consecutive months, and strategies that turn sustainability from a cost center into a competitive advantage, right? Okay, so basically I'm not going to like explain after introducing myself. I'm going to explain the model within the next 3-4 minutes, right? So so let me just start with the problem statement. So like imagine this scenario, right? So a solar installation project in a rural location in Africa is stalled, as in delayed for months or probably even years, not because of lack of funding or community interest, but because critical solar inverter components are stuck in a supply chain bottleneck halfway around the world. So this isn't hypothetical. It's happening across developing regions today, and it illustrates exactly why understanding renewable energy supply chain isn't just an academic exercise. It's the difference between energy transformation and energy stagnation. So basically, you might ask yourself this question: why is this module important? For what essence is it, right? So this module addresses the most critical bottlenecks in renewable energy scaling, the supply chain foundation that determines whether projects succeed or fail. So basically, through 6 comprehensive units, you would master. Firstly, you'll be able to learn about the global solar PV industry analysis, from supply chains and technology to sustainable development in emerging markets. Then secondly, you would also understand the act of comprehensive solar PV supply chain analysis and deployment strategy development. That's covering stakeholder assessments, market dynamics, financing, scalable implementation solution, to mention a few. Then on the third unit, you are going to like learn or develop ethical or sustainable solar supply chain management through responsible sourcing, supply auditing, local workforce inclusion, and comprehensive waste management. Then on the fourth unit, then it's going to be about installation logistics risk, payment models like pay-go, technical failures, theft, mitigation, and maintenance grid stability solutions to improve project bankability and performance. I believe my colleague on the last module would explain better. All right. Then the fifth module, I would address transport challenges, inventory management, digital coordination tools, and automated monitoring systems for efficient deployment and performance tracking. And lastly, just to tie everything together, right? I'm going to discuss solar energy sustainability in Africa in terms of jobs, training, recycling policies, support for local PV development. So here's what makes this important in the energy landscape. Developing regions have a unique opportunity to leapfrog the linear extractive supply chain models that industrialized countries are now struggling to replace. I won't just show you how to manage existing supply chains. No, that's not the idea. You will learn how to design the next generation supply chains that will define sustainable energy access for billions of people. The professionals who master these integrated approaches combine technical expertise with sustainable thinking. We will be the ones who will be leading the energy transition where it matters, right? So over the next, as I mentioned, 6 units, you will move from global. So we'll move from global supply chain analysis to hands-on implementation strategies. You will develop frameworks you can immediately, not the keyword, immediately apply, whether you are designing procurement strategies for solar installation, managing logistics for renewable projects, or building local capacities for sustainable energy system. So basically, in a nutshell, the energy future of developing regions depend on getting supply chains right. So let's build that expertise together. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Femi. And then lastly, on to Jeffrey Baden, who did Module 6 on finance and business models.
Thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you to discuss the model that I developed. Unfortunately, I have my camera, which is not working at the moment. But who am I asking who Jeffrey Baden is? I'm actually a project finance and energy economist with experience of over 15 years looking at driving clean energy transformation exercises. This background was born out of my investment banking background in terms of raising capital for projects, but one wants to do something which is more impactful and looking at addressing the contemporary issue we have in development at present, which is climate change. So reflecting my background and the skills that I have, I've actually tried to bring to bear my energy sector reforms, experience on financial modeling, experience on investment structuring of projects to ensure that they are very bankable for investors to look at, which I've done over the years, which span across large solar projects, looked at the context of mini grid and other low carbon emission projects. I've undertaken a lot of advisory services in the past, which includes working with institutions like the World Bank, the IMF, the USAID, and have built a reputation as an innovative education expert by lecturing in universities, looking at energy systems and power markets and looking at the enabling environment both in Africa and across other universities in Europe and the United States. With my experience in terms of transaction advisory, policy reforms within the African context, it is essential to appreciate that what works in a particular jurisdiction might not be the same as what would work in Africa or what will work in a developing economy. And as such, doing customization is very much essential. So this model that has actually been developed on the broad theme is making an attempt to ensure that we learn how to customize based on the environment that we are actually going to operate in. And the most important thing that we want all of you to be carried along is the overarching objective is to combat climate change and its emissions. So till we are able to attract financing, we are able to ensure that if it's a technology that needs to be used, if it's not affordable to both the end user or both the entity that is developing it, we wouldn't be able to achieve the objective of carbon emission. To that extent, the various models have been developed. At present, I'm the regional technical advisor for DC L'Afrique, which is a climate finance advisory firm supporting projects within sub-Saharan Africa and Africa at large to ensure that projects are commercially viable and bankable to attract the requisite investment. And the institution actually works not just to attract funding, but to carry projects and companies along from the point of funding to the point of achieving the desired impact of carbon emission. So under this model that was developed, it is actually into about 6 different parts. The first part looks at the broad overview of market assessment and supply dynamics, basically to ensure that participants master the methods to estimate market demand, assess market size, and undertake rigorous analysis on supply reliability. And you look at models like, not models, but you will look at tools like the pestle analysis and climate framework to ensure that you achieve this objective. You would have another model that would look at carbon accounting and carbon credit. Ideally, when you do a business, you would be able to have its own revenue streams and you would be able to meet certain bankability metrics like the NPV, the IRR that is the net present value and the internal rate of return. But it's important to also acknowledge that you can, because you would want to have impact, there are other potential revenue streams from carbon credit which can enhance the profitability of the business. So we would have a model, we'll have a unit that will take you through that in terms of the advanced skills of carbon accounting and how to incorporate carbon credit protocols into projects, which will be essential to improve the viability of the project. We would also help you in identifying risks. It's unavoidable to say that there isn't any risk for a business. And so if you would want the business to live throughout its project tenure, then it's important to be a bit detailed to be able to identify the respective risks or seemingly potential risks that the business is exposed to. Then you can determine or develop its mitigation that comes with it. So we are just not looking at businesses just to come up with ideas, but we want businesses to survive, to be able to live through the period of energy transition. The other thing that is also very much essential for this model is about the economic feasibility and modeling. It's important to be able to know the details of the various costs, the various revenues, and be able to determine the net effect between your cost and your revenue. So you'll be learning things like the levelized cost of energy, you'll learn the NPV, you will learn the internal rate of return. It's important to iterate that this is essential because we are not going to be rewarded for the innovative technologies or ideas that we are bringing on board, but we need to demonstrate to investors that whatever idea we are bringing on board to be able to fight climate change, the idea is bankable, is viable, and is profitable, and it will give you a fair value for money, for which reason this unit is very much essential. Then we need to also let the financiers also appreciate commercial structuring of projects such that you would be able to help them appreciate that you have considered all the other things that I've said, like the rates, like the viability, like the market, everything put together to ensure that as a business, together with your team or your company and the location you are operating from, you have considered all of these options and you are interested in a particular type of financing to ensure that the project becomes operational. So that is it. Then you would have an assessment that will be done at the end of the period, because we just don't want you to listen to all the things that we have said, but we wanted to have a change in mind and you will be able to practicalize it. Hence, the curriculum is very relevant for energy transition for developing countries, and because it actually bridges the gap between industry and academia and various pathways of how countries have been existing, and also looking at the rigor to help you to assess your money, your markets, manage your risks, and look at how you can structure finance and also develop bankable projects, which is going to help in economic development, industrialization. So I bring to bear all these experiences, and I would want to be available beyond even the session to answer questions for the team that would want to have further learning, because we believe it's a journey and this is just the beginning. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you so much, Jeffrey. So that wraps up all of the modules. So hopefully you should have a better idea as to what they all entail, what you can expect, and what you can gain from taking each of these modules in the CSET course. So you might be wondering what the next steps are now. So I do apologize. Just go back. There we go. So if you are interested in registering, we've got the link over there. I'm quickly going to just post it in the chat box as well. So you are welcome to please visit that link. There'll also be a brochure on that site which you can download and then read through everything, which will also answer any other questions you might have. Registration is by this week Friday, so it is relatively short notice. So if this does seem like something you're interested in, you do also have 7 days after you've registered to make the final payment. So your spot in the course will only be confirmed once payment has been made. And the cost for this course is it's 2,100 Rand, which is about 120 US dollars. And this is heavily subsidized by our funders, UK Aid, who basically get their funds through the UK government. So a big thank you to them. And yeah, that just about wraps it up from our side. So again, you can check the registration link in the chat box. I would like to encourage you all to go have a look at the site and just to read through the brochure, and that should hopefully then answer any of the last questions you might have. So before we leave you for today, we will open up the floor for any questions and answers that you might have. If you have any logistical type questions about how the course is delivered, how to make payments and so on, you can direct them at Marsha or myself. And if you have or if you'd like to ask any of the content experts a question relating to their module or their topic, then yeah, please feel free to direct your question at them. So you're welcome to raise your hand, unmute yourself, whatever works best for you. And yeah, we will stick around to answer your question. Okay, I see we'll probably run over time. So yeah, we'll try to keep the Q&A to about 5 minutes, and then we will leave you for the day. Victoria, I see your hand's raised.
Hi, good afternoon. Please
Hi.
confirm if you can hear me.
Loud and clear.
Okay, thank you very much for taking the time to put this course together and the introduction about the modules. I found them very insightful. I would just like to ask, I've seen from the website that it's an online course. However, considering that I am interested in taking the course and I also work full time, I'd like to know the modalities, what time would we be having our classes, and what's the duration for each class per day, just for me to be realistic about my expectation and see how I can fit it into my schedule. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Yeah, so the course is asynchronous, meaning the lessons are all pre-recorded and you can basically access them in your own time. So each week will require about 10 hours of your time. So you are able to basically decide how you split that up, whether you'd like to do it maybe in 2 sessions where you sit for 5 hours on a Saturday and 5 hours on a Sunday to work through it all, or maybe you just want to work through it about an hour and a bit each day and split it up evenly. So yeah, we've designed it so that it is flexible, so it can accommodate people like yourself who are working full time and have other responsibilities as well. Yeah, basically the only checkpoints throughout the course are submitting the quizzes, and that will be on the Sunday, so the day before the start of the next module. But yeah, to answer your question, it'll be about 10 hours worth of your time that's required per week, and that'll include everything, including watching the lecture, reading through the notes, critically engaging with the lecture, so going back and rewatching maybe some parts that you felt you needed a bit more attention on, and also to engage with the supplementary materials and complete the quiz. So yeah, we've worked hard to try to keep it as concise and keep the information as relevant as possible. And yeah, 10 hours a week will ensure that you're able to work through all of that.
Oh, perfect. Thanks for the response. That's absolutely perfect. Then one more thing. Upon
Yeah.
completing the course, is there like any other thing after completion, like possibly opportunities, things we can apply the knowledge, or areas we can apply the knowledge we've gained from the course?
Yeah, so by staying on the learning platform afterwards, we will let you know about any opportunities that might arise and any other things that we're working on at TLP. So we have, with all of our previous cohorts, shared opportunities that do come up that are relevant or potentially relevant to them specifically. So yeah, that's probably one big benefit that you will have from taking the course, as well as getting the information.
Okay, that's perfect. Thanks very much.
If you have any other questions, please feel free to raise your hand, unmute yourself.
Kai,
You're
you're
muted,
mute.
Kai.
You're mute, Kai.
Oh, thanks for the heads up. My bad. Okay.
Muted
You're,
again.
yeah, you might want to check your mic or something. Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Hopefully this will stay on now. I just want to check. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, so I see there's a question from Minas John in the chat box. I see your hands raised as well. Would you like to quickly elaborate on that? Unsure as to what you're trying to ask with the question about the refugees. Minas, would you like to unmute yourself? Okay, we'll come back to you in a moment. Njeri, if you'd like to unmute yourself and ask away, you're more than welcome to. Njeri or Minas? I don't know. Sorry, can you guys hear me? Can someone just give a thumbs up? Mike has refused. Okay.
Yeah, Kai, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Just wanted to check that.
Kai, I think Njeri is having mic issues.
Yes, I've been seeing that in the chat
Okay.
box.
Yeah.
And then I see from Jerusha, we've got a question in here. How easy would it be to transition from a construction background to energy and sustainability with this course? So the assumption, or what we have done when developing this course, is that people have at least a baseline understanding as to what happens in the energy sector, at least some level of a systems understanding as to what's going on. But that being said, for each of the modules, they do start from a level that should be understandable to most people. But the construction background, yeah, I'd say maybe have a read through the brochure. You might be able to get some more clarity there as well. But for the most part, we generally do require a degree in, as I mentioned, in a field related to the energy sector, such as engineering, or it could be in politics or finance or environmental science, along those lines. And a question from Jerry: since we have given short notice, will we be having a different cohort to allow one to enroll at a later date? So yes, absolutely. Generally, with our CPD courses, we will run another cohort every 3 to 4 months or so, with each cohort lasting over 8 weeks. So I think, Marsha, do we have another cohort scheduled for this year? Maybe in November or December, or will that only be in January?
Let me just quickly check.
Okay.
Well, it is scheduled for the beginning of January. But if there is a lot of people interested in a cohort, we could consider another one. But bearing in mind is that the course takes about 2 months. And in order to be done by the festive season, we would have to start no later than the middle of October, which is maybe a bit short notice.
Awesome. Thank you, Marsha. Lynette asked if the costs will be the same for all the cohorts. Yes, the costs will stay 2,100 Rand, again, roughly $120. And that is the price for all of our continued professional development courses. So we've got one on integrated energy systems and another one on integrated data for energy analytics, or integrated data and energy analytics. Victoria, I see your hand is raised.
Yes, just a quick one again. I talked to Ax following the question about the requirement. Would someone like myself who has a master's degree in human resources and currently functioning or working as an HR manager in an energy industry be eligible to apply? Because I don't have an engineering experience, but I currently function in the energy industry hiring for this kind of people. And I just want to learn more. Would I be considered? I just want to know that before I apply. Thank you.
From what you've described now, yes, I definitely think that your criteria would match for registering in this course. We've tried to keep the entry requirements somewhat vague, somewhat low, so that there's not as much of a barrier to entry to make these courses as accessible as possible.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Sure. Then I see a question from Mulatu. So would a recording of this webinar with details of all the modules be available for further review? So yes, they will. We will send a follow-up email probably tomorrow just to all of the webinar attendees, and we'll send you a link to the webinar recording so you can rewatch it. And then again, if you go a little bit further up in the chats, I posted a link for the registration, and there you'll find a brochure which will also have a lot more information on each of the modules and the entire course. Then I see a question from Nelius. So are there any modules on the application of AI and the Internet of Things on renewable energy systems? So in this specific CPD course, there's nothing explicitly on that. So some of the content experts and modules will touch on how AI and IoT can be applied in those contexts, but we do have another CPD course called Integrated Data and Energy Analytics, where we specifically look at these things and how big data and AI and the Internet of Things can really enhance renewable energy systems. Minas, I see your hand is raised. Are there any other questions still? Okay, going once. Minas, I will stick around for another minute or two afterwards if you're able to unmute yourself then. But in the meantime, if you don't have any questions, if you feel confident that you know everything that you're wanting to find out about this course, then you are welcome to leave and enjoy the rest of your day. Again, thank you all for taking the time out of your day to join us. I understand that we are all busy and for the most part have a lot of other commitments, so we really do appreciate you taking the time. And we look forward to seeing some of you on the course starting on Monday. So yeah, again, thank you again to all the content experts for your contributions in this project. And yeah, it's been really great to see it all come together to the final step now, the launch webinar, and then the actual launch on Monday. So thank you so much, everyone. And yeah, I'll stick around for another minute or two if you have any last minute questions or anything. Bye-bye.